House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Happening one and all, and welcome back to House to Home, the segment here on KUAM News where we tell you all that is going on with real estate. It's a very evolving industry, certainly one of Guam's more lucrative industries. It's seen some very, very tough times, but like most things in economics, it's ebbs and flows, and Gina and Liz have fortunately been able to steer the ship and given us some navigation, if you will, through these very trying times in their industry. So ladies, Hapade, thank you for joining me once again. And we have talked about things, we're in month 9 now almost of the pandemic. And we've talked about, how your industry has had to change as far as doing showings and the health and safety protocol that you've now had to adopt, not only for your properties, but also for the offices that you run. But I kind of wanted to get back and maybe talk about some of the trends within your market itself, and in showing real estate. And Gina, you and I were chatting offline recently, and you were saying that one thing that is very often misunderstood here on the island is the condo market itself. And because it's maybe in terms of financing, if you want to own a condo, it's not exactly an apartment, but it's not quite a house. Is that correct?
Well,
clearly I don't even understand it.
Well, the thing is, we can't stress enough how competitive the residential market is right now. And so as that becomes tighter,
despite the pandemic or because of the pandemic?
Jace, I honestly don't know what to make of it, because I expected, though the market opened up, that it would slow down a little bit. I think I have a conservative nature. So of course, during times like this, I'm going to tighten up. Oh yeah. So, my mentality says, danger, danger. Who knows what's going to happen next. So I tend to steer towards the conservative side, and I would want to stash money away, try to save up, cut expenses, all of that. But what we're noticing is the market, people that have been looking for a home are out there in droves right now. The ones who are lucky enough to still be employed, so they work for the federal sector, they work for the government of Guam, and of course those two entities are going strong. Let's see what happens in a few months. You said we've been into it 9 months, so at that point you're going to give birth to something, and God only knows what's going to happen at the end of this, right? All of us are coming up with ideas of how this is going to play out when we finally give birth. This economy pushes it out there and says, okay, there it is, deal with it. But the people that are buying, the interest rates are ridiculously low. I keep saying that, and they keep going lower. We're below 3%. I mean, that's a car loan payment at 3%.
When was the last time interest rates got this low for real estate? Was it the 08 financial crisis?
I have been in real estate for 35 years, Jace. I've never seen it at 2.5, 2.7.
So this is a historically low percentage.
I think we've seen during the typhoons with SBA loans maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that.
So, I mean, it's crazy. And what's happening is people are out there looking for residential, looking for homes. And then they realize, okay, the interest rates are low, but gosh, the pricing on these homes, the demand is so high, the cost to build is so high that residential homes are just, they're priced out. They either qualify for that home, but they don't want to do the monthly, because the monthly $400,000, you're still looking at, $1,900 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I don't want to do that kind of monthly. So let's look at condos. I can consider living in a condo for a few years until things
So they do
change.
use condos as kind of like as like a transient, like kind of a pass between.
Well, yeah, it's a home, it's
Mm-hmm.
still considered a home. The thing is, once you switch over from residential single family homes to condominium, then your financing options dramatically shift, right, Liz?
Yeah, your financing definitely changes, because when you're in a single family home, you're able to get either 90% loan, 95% loan, 97.3 loan. But when you go into a condo, that doesn't happen. Yeah, your loan ratio changes. It's like 80% loan, 20% down, and that's a substantial amount of money out of pocket. And then in some cases, maybe more of a higher loan ratio, depending on it. But that is one factor. So you would require more money out of your pocket. Then you have to factor in, like my sister right now, she's looking for a condo, and she's weighing what the HOA fees, because if you're buying a deal, well, but your HOA fees are 500, 400. Those are numbers you have to factor in. Can you afford? You might be able to afford the condo, but then the homeowner fees really eat up into your budget, you know, depending on your budget for each month. So it's not that easy. And then on top of that, you've got your power bill and water bill if it's not included. So there are additional costs added onto that. And some people don't realize, you know, and, you know, one thing is you could buy one of the factors too, you want to consider, where do you want to live? How is the neighborhood? And even if you found a good price condo, how is that particular neighborhood? Do you want to live there? It might not be your best choice, but based on a budget, you may not have too much of a choice at that point.
You could have a very, very nice gated community with a Sentry and with a pool and everything like that in the middle of a very rough part of town.
Right. So yeah, it could be. But there are so many townhomes and condos out there. It's just pricing and HOA fees that you're going to have to factor in.
Gina, I've not thought about this before, but with the interest rates being as low as they are, if I am a property owner and I'm looking to, you know, capitalize on that and, you know, hopefully sell to somebody or perhaps, you know, even rent if I've got a condo, how do these rates affect our friends in the military and people that will be coming here in the next year, in the next couple of years? Are their arrangements more beneficial, or have they changed any?
Well, in terms of single family homes, we are finding that, you know, in the past, when I first got into real estate, military individual people that were in the military didn't buy that often. They rented. But now it's actually much more lucrative for them to purchase, because a VA loan is 100% financing for the purchase price of the home. Yes, you pay closing fees, but when you take a look at the whole scenario, so you're in the military, they're going to give you OHA, Overseas Housing Allowance. You can utilize that to rent, or you can utilize that to purchase. If you purchase, the bank will give you 100% loan, because, you know, the VA loan allows for that, right? So now you can use your allowance to pay for your mortgage. The only thing at this point you need to worry about is paying the closing costs. Yes, the closing costs are high. They run about 3 to 4% of the purchase price. And in this market, what's happened is it is now a seller's market. So you cannot automatically ask the seller to pay your closing costs, because typically they're going to say, no, I don't need to do that. I have 10 other buyers lined up. So as a person who wants to utilize the VA loan, all I can say is save up. But after that, you're going to be able to use your allowance to pay your mortgage payment. So for a small investment, for the cost of the closing cost, for the price of the closing cost, you get to move into a home that typically what we're seeing right now is these homes are appreciating maybe about 8 to 10%, depending on the area, the location you bought in. The value is going up about 8% per year. So when you turn around, if you're going to be here about 3 years, you're going to make a little bit of money. So you're going to get back what you put in as far as the closing cost is concerned, and you're making a little bit. So you can actually see that as a savings account. So yeah, I mean, it benefits them to purchase. And we're seeing a big number of people purchasing right now that are in the military.
Now, if I'm in the military,
up the market.
If I'm in the military and say I've got maybe 6 years experience, this is like my, you know, and I'm stationed on Guam, and this is my maybe second or third detail as a military officer, I'm probably making very, very good money. And if I buy a home knowing I'm only going to be on Guam for like maybe 4, maybe 5 years, after which I'll be reassigned to a different duty station, can I then take my home and then flip it? Or
You
do
can.
I? Is what I make, is that all pure profit for me?
Well, after you've purchased it, your housing allowance has paid for the mortgage. So it actually goes right into your equity. So by the time you're ready to leave, the value of your home would have gone up. At least we hope so at the time you're ready to depart Guam. And then you can sell the home, and the equity that you've put in through your allowance, then you get that back. So like Gina has said, over the years, not too many people were buying, they were renting. But now the majority are purchasing because, the buildup is one factor. We've got investors coming in. So it's wiser for them to buy, take the equity, sell it, make a profit. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're taking advantage of their housing allowance that will turn into their equity at the end by the time they sell their home.
It is a really interesting dichotomy to see what our island is going through on an economic front, and yet, your industry, in more than just a few small ways, continues to thrive. Like almost, you said, but it could all change next week.
Well,
right, we're getting offers right now. So the housing inventory right now is limited, and due to the constraints of labor, so our inventory, we need to get new houses out on the market, but the prices are going up.
Yeah, Jace, that's what we're most concerned about. In looking at the big picture, the government needs to, if the senators, if the governor, if they really want to do something to help the community, that's where they could probably do the most good, is to look at how can the government help the private sector produce more reasonably priced homes. Because right now, during this pandemic, can you imagine, rents are still high. Housing prices, both for sale and for rent, continue to go up. Yeah, this is going to hurt the local community quite a bit when it all falls into place.
Well, hopefully, maybe next week we can take a look and maybe speculate on what might be coming in the very near future, and that may be a little bit of a dark episode. It might be a little bleak, but maybe we can touch on that. But as for now, we do have to go. So, ladies, thank you as always for your insight and for your knowledge on what is continuing to be a roller coaster of an industry.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. See you later, everybody.